He saw a widow beaten for birthing triplet girls, then said, "You're coming with me." The winter wind cut across the dusty courtyard of the crumbling homestead. From where he sat on his bay horse, Caleb McGraw could hear it before he could see it: screams, desperate cries of a woman, and the guttural shouts of angry men. His instincts made his hands tighten on the reins. He wasn't one to meddle in other people's feuds, not anymore, not after war and heartbreak had hollowed him. But what he heard wasn't a family quarrel. It was cruelty. Caleb nudged his horse forward until the old cabin came into view. What he saw clenched his gut into knots. A woman, her dark hair tangled and her shawl torn, lay crumpled on the frozen ground. Around her, 3 men circled like dogs. One of them, an older brute with a gray beard and a twisted sneer, spat on the ground. "A curse, that's what you are," he growled. 3 girls, and not a single boy. Worthless. Another raised his hand and struck her across the face so hard that her head snapped to the side. Her body shielded 3 tiny bundles wrapped in threadbare blankets. Infants. The sound of their soft cries cut through the cold air like a blade. Caleb's heart thundered. He swung out of the saddle in one smooth motion, his boots crunching on the frost. "That's enough," he said, his voice low but carrying the weight of a man who'd stared death in the eye too many times. The men turned, startled. "Who the hell are you?" the gray-bearded one barked. Caleb stepped closer, his long coat brushing against his legs, his hand resting casually on the worn colt at his hip. "Doesn't matter who I am. What matters is you stop laying hands on her." The youngest of the 3 laughed, but it was a nervous sound. "This ain't your business, stranger. She's our kin. Her husband's dead, and she's nothing but a burden. She gives us 3 squalling girls, and we're supposed to feed him? Not likely." Caleb's jaw tightened. He looked at the woman, her lips split, her cheeks swelling, her eyes brimming with tears she fought to hold back. She was thin, but she clutched those babies with a strength born of desperation. His voice hardened. "You touch her or those little ones again, and you'll answer to me." The older man sneered. "You got no right." Caleb drew the colt so fast that the barrel gleamed in the winter sun before the men even blinked. He aimed it squarely at the brute's chest. "I make my own rights." For a long moment, no one moved. Then the men backed off, muttering curses, their courage melting beneath the steel in Caleb's eyes. Finally, they spat on the ground and stalked away toward the barn, leaving the woman trembling in the dirt. Caleb holstered his weapon and stepped closer. He crouched beside her, his voice softening. "You all right, ma'am?" She lifted her head, wincing at the movement. Her eyes, the color of rich earth, held a wary defiance. "They'll come back," she whispered. "They always do." Caleb looked at the 3 small faces nestled in her arms, each baby girl no bigger than a loaf of bread, their tiny fists waving. Something stirred deep inside him, a memory of his own wife, gone too soon, and the child they'd lost together. Pain flared in his chest, but alongside it came resolve. He stood and extended his hand. "Not if you're with me. You're coming with me." Her eyes widened. "What? I can't just." "You can," he said firmly. "You and those little ones. You've had enough of beatings and curses. No woman, no child deserves that. My place is 2 days' ride north. You'll be safe there." She hesitated, glancing toward the barn where the men had disappeared. Fear and uncertainty battled with the faint flicker of hope in her eyes. At last, she reached for his hand. The journey was grueling. The widow, her name was Mary, barely had the strength to sit upright in the saddle. Caleb lifted her gently onto his horse and secured the babies close against her chest with a wool blanket from his pack. He walked beside them, leading the bay through the frozen wilderness. Mary spoke little at first, only to soothe her infants or whisper their names: Hannah, Grace, and Ruth. Caleb listened, his heart twisting each time the tiny girls whimpered. He carried the weight of silence, his own ghosts riding with him. By the second night, they found shelter in an abandoned trapper's cabin. Caleb built a fire, the orange glow casting warmth against the rough-hewn walls. Mary sat near the flames, her hair spilling over her shoulders, her eyes soft as she nursed one of the girls. "You don't know me," she said quietly, breaking the silence. "Why would you help us? Men don't, they don't do that, not where I come from." Caleb leaned back against the log wall, his gaze steady. "Maybe you've only known the wrong kind of men." Her eyes flicked to his. "And you? What kind are you?" He swallowed, the firelight revealing lines carved deep into his face. "The kind who's made mistakes. The kind who's lost more than I care to say. But I won't stand by and watch children grow up learning that cruelty is the way of the world." Mary studied him for a long moment. Then, with a trembling voice, she said, "Their father died last spring. Fever took him quick. His family blamed me. Said I was cursed, that I brought death into their house. When the girls were born," her voice broke, and tears slid silently down her cheeks, "they said I doomed the bloodline. That I should have given them a son." Caleb's fists clenched. "They're wrong. These girls are blessings. Anyone too blind to see that isn't worth a damn." Mary's lips curved faintly, the first ghost of a smile he'd seen. 2 days later, they crested the ridge overlooking Caleb's land. The valley spread wide and open, snow-dusted pines guarding a sturdy cabin with smoke curling from the chimney. Horses grazed in the paddock, their coats shining in the weak sun. Mary gasped softly. "It's beautiful." Caleb felt a strange warmth at her words. "It's yours now, too. If you want it." She turned to him, disbelief in her eyes. "Ours." "Caleb, I can't repay you. I've nothing." "You don't need to repay me," he said. His voice was quiet, almost hoarse. "Just raise those girls. Give 'em love, give 'em hope. That's more than enough." Life on the ranch wasn't easy, but it was honest. Mary learned to milk cows, to mend fences, to laugh again. The triplets grew stronger with each passing week, their cries turning into coos and their tiny fists into grasps that clung to Caleb's calloused fingers. At night, when the house was still, Caleb sometimes sat by the fire, watching Mary rock one of the babies. A feeling he'd long thought buried stirred within him. She was more than a widow now. She was a mother fighting to keep her daughters alive, a woman with fire in her heart despite the scars left by cruelty. One evening, as a storm raged outside, Mary spoke softly. "You saved us, Caleb. If not for you, I don't know what would have become of us." He met her gaze, his chest tightening. "You don't owe me thanks. Truth is, you saved me too. I'd forgotten what it felt like to care again." Her eyes shimmered with unshed tears. For a long time, neither spoke, the crackle of the fire filling the silence. Then one of the triplets whimpered, and Caleb rose to scoop her up. The baby nestled against his chest, her tiny heartbeat thudding softly against him. He looked at Mary, his voice steady. "They'll never know the kind of hatred you endured. Not while I draw breath." Mary reached out, her fingers brushing his hand. "I believe you." Months turned to seasons. The valley bloomed with spring, the girls crawling in the grass while Mary's laughter mingled with birdsong. Caleb built them a future board by board, plow by plow, until the ranch no longer felt like a place of exile but a home brimming with life. And though he never asked for it, Mary gave him something he thought he'd lost forever: family, and the quiet hope of love born not from desperation but from trust. It had begun the moment he saw her beaten in the dirt, 3 infants clutched to her chest, and decided with a single, unshakable truth. "You're coming with me." And she had. And together, they'd built something worth keeping.